See how just accent, background and stuff affects whether people trust you.
You can see how just accent, background and stuff affects whether people trust you.
Hello. So I found this clip, right, which is Gary Stevenson and Jimmy the Giant, both working class voices, talking about inequality. But someone has used AI to give them middle class / upper class accents. And it's funny, but in like a really unsettling way. Here's the clip.
If you watch me go on Rest is Politics, it's quite funny actually, because I basically say, like, I think the reason that this political class doesn't take me seriously is because of how I talk. And Rory Stewart comes back and says, I think it's because of your class anger, which is basically, it's because of how you talk. Because I don't think it's because you're poor. It's because you're poor. You're poor. Basically what he's saying is, yes, we do judge you because you're working class, but we are correct to do that.
And that's why I'm saying that's that pure Victorian British attitude. You're allowed to be poor, but you can't be angry about it.
And to me it's unsettling because it works in the sense that it seems to make them sound more credible and more trustworthy. Like, do you know what I mean? Like the exact same words and argument, but with a posher accent. And there's a part of me that thinks they sound more like they know what they're talking about.
They think working class, probably stupid, probably a liar. And that's coming from the way that I speak.
Who do they use to protect their wealth? Me. But when it comes to me giving my opinion, sorry, you can manage my money, but you can't express your opinion.
It's like watching somebody like put on a white coat and like suddenly my brain goes, oh, yeah, cool. They can totally cut me open and perform surgery on me. Like if somebody came in a hoodie and said, I'm your surgeon, part of me would be like, are you? Except this is way worse. Because like a white coat you can take on and off, but an accent, like it's part of you. And that's a big part of it for me, is that I always underestimate the power of that effect. And it reminds me of a story that I heard once about Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who told this story late in his life. For those of you who don't know who Archbishop Desmond Tutu is.
This is a moral universe, and you've got to take account of the fact that truth and lies and goodness and evil are things that matter.
He was one of the most powerful voices in the fight against apartheid. Like he's a Nobel Peace Prize winner. He's like this moral titan.
The system of this country, apartheid, is evil.
He spent his entire life fighting racism. So in this story, he's in Nigeria, working for the World Council of Churches, and he's in Lagos Airport, and for the first time in his life, he sees that both the pilots in the cockpit are black. And he said he grew inches, like he was so proud, he was so excited. Because in South Africa, under apartheid, he'd been told his whole life that blacks can't do that. And so they took off, and it was all smooth departure, no problems. And then they hit turbulence, like bad turbulence. The plane was shaking, people were scared. And Tutu, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who had fought oppression his entire life, caught himself thinking, oh, there's no white man in that cockpit. Are those black guys gonna be able to make it? And he couldn't believe it. He was shocked that he'd thought that, but there it was. Even him, even after dedicating his entire existence to proving the lie of white supremacy, the bias was inside him. And what he called it was internalized racism. Like the awfulness of racial oppression, he said, is that it makes a child of God doubt that they're a child of God. And you project that doubt onto others who look like you. And you just think, wow, if Desmond Tutu, one of the greatest moral leaders of the 20th century, has internalized that bias, like what hope for the rest of us? Like we're screwed, basically. Like if the guy who literally won a Nobel Prize for fighting racism has the racism virus installed in his brain, then we've all got it, right? It's in the factory settings, like fucking hell. And it's so deep because it's not about bad people consciously choosing to discriminate, it's about beliefs that are ingrained. They feel like instinct, like basic programming. It's invisible. And we've all absorbed that kind of bias, like all of us, like secondhand smoke, because you don't actively choose to inhale it. You just have to be in the room. And there's research that absolutely backs that up. In 2010, psychologists Sri Lev Ari and Boaz Kesar at the University of Chicago ran experiments where people listened to identical statements, like trivial facts like ants don't sleep, spoken by different voices. Some voices had native accents, some had mild foreign accents, and some had heavy foreign accents. And what happened was that the same statement was judged less credible when spoken with an accent. The information didn't change, the way that the speaker's qualifications looked didn't change, but because of, as they put it, the processing difficulty, the tiny extra effort that it takes to understand an unfamiliar accent, it gets unconsciously misattributed to a lack of truthfulness. People misattribute the difficulty of understanding the speech to the truthfulness of the statements. In other words, harder to process sounds less true. Like if somebody told you a fact while doing a handstand and your brain decided, well, that can't be true, they're upside down. I mean, I do feel like that about circus folk. The content didn't change, but your brain made the effort part of the credibility assessment. And that happens automatically without even thinking. It's below conscious awareness. You don't decide to do it, your brain just does it, like breathing, but for being a snob. And there's UK data on this. There's literally a project called the Accent in Britain Project, which was led by researchers at Queen Mary University in York and Edinburgh. And they conducted the most comprehensive study of accent discrimination in British history. And here's what they found. 30% of university students reported being mocked, criticised or singled out for their accents in educational settings. 25% of professionals reported the exact same in the workplace, and 29% of senior managers from working class backgrounds said they'd been mocked or criticised for their accents, compared to 22% from better off families. So even when you make it to senior management, even when you've climbed the ladder, your accent still marks you. It's like a class tattoo that you can't remove. And when they tested which accents rated the most positively, the top tier was received pronunciation, BBC English, but the bottom tier, and I'm very sorry about this, was Birmingham, Liverpool, Manchester, Bradford, and then Afro-Caribbean accents and Indian accents. And the researchers, just had to put it bluntly, that there is a long-standing hierarchy of accent prestige in Britain, and it's still in place. And here's the extra fact that makes you want to throw something at the, just throw something somewhere, that less than 10% of the population actually speaks RP, but it's still the accent of authority and power. It's like if only 10% of people wore top hats, but we all decided that top hat wearers were automatically more intelligent. And then we built an entire society around that. I mean, you could argue that we've kind of already done that anyway, but yeah.
Would I be upper class if I got a top hat and wore it?
Well, would you like to try? I have a top hat. I can lend it to you for the next few minutes of this interview, if you'd like.
So am I upper class now?
I'm originally from Dorset, and I used to have a lot more of an accent. I used to sound a bit like this. Hello there, how are you doing? You all right? In fact, I've got a bit of stand-up talking about that directly. And actually, have a watch.
So I grew up with a Dorset accent. This was my accent. Hello there, how are you doing? You all right? I know, and you'll notice that I don't have that accent anymore. Do you know why? Because I realised at some point I was going to want to have sex with a human, because that accent, that's a not a horny accent. You can't go up to a girl and go, hello there, my name's Barry. Come back. Do you know what I mean? Because you're just laughing there at the accent. The punchline is the accent on that. And the biggest thing about that accent is you never imagine anyone clever having that accent. Do you know what I mean? Thanks, mate. If you go to the doctor and the doctor's like, hello there, come on in, take a seat. Everyone's head goes, oh, sorry, am I at the vet's? It's true. If Einstein had come out and gone, hello everyone, listen up, right? I've come up with a theory. No. What are you laughing for? It's going to change mankind, I tell you. No, it's called the theory of relativity. Yeah, everyone would just go, yeah, I think that's just the theory of having sex with your relatives, isn't it? Yeah, it would change mankind, but we don't need more toes. That's all. Anyway, so...
And I used to talk like that. But as I said on this channel before, I'm the first of 36 cousins to have gone to university in my family. And I went to university, I was really out of place, really didn't understand the whole systems of education in university. It was a really difficult time for me. And I was bullied a lot, and I lost my accent just to fit in. Totally lost it. Because, I mean, I say it was bullied out of me. I wasn't punched for my accent. I wasn't kind of physically beaten up, but I just didn't want it as the defining way that people responded to me. It just slowly left, and it felt like things got a bit easier. People weren't judging me as much. And certainly at university, where I felt out of my depth, it meant that I suddenly felt a bit more, I think, not as stupid, I suppose. Because you learn what works in the environment that you find yourself in, and you respond, and it works. Except it's your accent, it's where you grew up, it's your family, it's your community, it's your grandmother's voice, your primary school playground. And changing it, or being told you should change it, it's not neutral advice. It's being told that the way your community speaks makes you less believable. It means I don't want to listen to you, which is why the suggestion that people should just code switch, like adapt their accent to fit elite spaces, is actually really insidious, because it puts the burden on the person being discriminated against.
I switched to doing the YouTube because I thought that the fact that I look how I do and sound how I do will make the working class want to listen to me. But that same thing is a disadvantage when I talk to economists, when I talk to academics, when I talk to politicians, when I talk to be honest, a lot of the media until it's becoming popular.
What is it that you think is the disadvantage? I mean, as you say, you've studied economics, so why do you think there's a... Is it that you're choosing to present yourself in a certain way? Could you... I mean, given that you know how to change codes, right?
Yeah.
Presumably you could quite easily remember what you did.
I know there's a deeply entrenched prejudice in this country that people who sound posh are smart and people who sound working class are stupid.
Don't think it's about a posh thing.
The research sadly doesn't back Rory up. In fact, if you want to look at another example that I've made of the research not backing Rory Stewart up, you can see this video here. Code switching is not a solution. It's a tax, a toll you have to pay to gain entry because you're from the wrong place. And the people collecting that tax, that toll, they act like it's just a way of things in the world and there's nothing you can do about it. Well, wait. Because Desmond Tutu's story is so important because it shows us that, yes, that bias lives in us all. Even the people winning Nobel Prizes for fighting that very bias that they have inside of them. But that's not a reason to give up, because there's a power in fighting that internalized voice that says calm is credible, posh is intelligent, regional accent is less trustworthy, standard accent is neutral. Even when we know it's wrong, we have that bias. It's in there, like those dogs that salivated when they heard a bell. Except instead of salivating, we trust posh people. And instead of being a cute psychology experiment, it's the entire basis for our class system. But what do? The only thing we can do, which is know it and recognize it. Recognize it inside yourself. I just trusted that person more because of their accent. Yes, I did that. Right. And that's it. Good job. You're noticing. But second, just remember Desmond Tutu. And then thirdly, you can ask a different question. Instead of asking, why does this person sound so angry? You can ask, what harm are they closer to that I'm not seeing? What privilege allows someone to stay calm about that issue? Because as mad as it sounds, calm is a luxury. It's easy to be calm when the problem isn't cutting into you with a Bowie knife, when your kid's school isn't being shut down and your wages aren't being stolen. If you were calm, you'd sound insane. Calm is what you can afford when you're far enough away from the harm. But if you're close to it, you shouldn't be penalised for being angry and for caring.
Lest we begin to be quite serious about the fact that actually we are one family. We are constantly going to be running up against problems such as this, where the wealthy might become irresponsible and the victims are not themselves, but the victims are the vulnerable, the poor. To say we are not going to be able to survive except together. We are not going to be prosperous except together. And that we can spend as much money as we like. We will never win wars against terror as long as there are conditions that make people desperate.
Mm-hmm.